Hi friends! Still in my PJs, no makeup because it is a Sunday afternoon. I've been taking it easy all weekend. Since it's the first official weekend of the plus size readathon, I've decided I'm just gonna go all out. So I've already read like 4 books. One of them I just finished and I didn't introduce it, so let me do that. Okay, I read the first book in the Leviathan fitness series called Muscles and Monsters. But it's a plus size woman that's human and a wolf. If this is your first time watching my channel, strap in. The dedication in this book was for anyone who's ever been attracted to an anime wolf before, which was interesting. This was giving a little bit more like Animal Crossing than anime to me. The main character is a baker, and the guy down the street from her, the wolf, owns a gym. Because of proximity to each other, he loves her baked goods. She wants to go see him more often and get fitter. They just start a situationship that turns into a ship. You know, this book was silly, and I think a lot of monster romances really lean into like, because you know that could never happen. It's a bit ridiculous, but this book was silly, but not corny, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of the writing I actually thought was so funny. It's not that cringe like I thought it would be. Like, there was a line where he was trying to make her come twice or something, and in the inner monologue she was like, as DJ Khaled says, another one. It made me laugh. I was thoroughly enjoying it, even though it's, again, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief when you read things like that, because when am I gonna be a baker that lives down the street from a wolf who does not have a human form? It's just all wolf. I thought that that book was good, very steamy, not a whole lot of plot other than that, but that is exactly what I root for in things like that. So I think I'm gonna give that one 4 stars. I was quite impressed by it. Now I need to choose my next book, but before I do that, I'm gonna edit some videos, so I will catch back up with you when I am in front of my TBR and experiencing decision paralysis, because I have so many things that I could read next. So I just finished editing my vlog from yesterday, which means I'm free to read. I told Shelby that I would go to her parents' house for dinner, which is like in an hour and a half. I want to start another book. One book that I have, it's by the same author that I've read a couple of times for other books. L.M. Drew has a vampire book that's literally called The Vampire in the Bookstore. I want to give you just a slice of, I opened this to see if it would be interesting, and on the author's note it says, this book contains the following: sexual content, biting kink, pain kink, blood kink, choking kink, primal play, praise kink, stalking. Here's the best one: age gap, and then in parentheses, he's like 1,000, she's in her 30s. I don't think I can finish this by the time I go to Shelby's parents, but we're gonna see how far I can get. I need you to understand the life-altering score I got for like $6 at Old Navy. Are you kidding me? I'm not taking any questions on if you see me wearing this for the next 90 business days in a row. There we go. My Twilight poster's back up. I want to do an update on the book I'm reading. Tonight I went over to Shelby's parents' house with her and we had dinner, and while we were there we hung out on the couch, watched the Olympics, and both read our ebooks. I got 35% of the way into The Vampire in the Bookstore. It's about a guy named Declan who's like 1,000 years old, and he's obsessed with old books, and there's this woman who in her perspective is like trying to track him down, but he doesn't know that she knows who he is. But they meet at a bookstore that sells used books because they're both like book aficionados. He's so entranced with her that they go out to dinner, and now they're back at his house looking at books. This book is not working for me, and I'm only 30% of the way in. The author is going through such painstaking motions to make the reader know that these are bookish people, and for the first couple pages I was like, oh my god, like this is a book about books for people who like books. But the whole conversation that these characters carry is so many superfluous questions about like, what's your favorite kind of binding, what's your favorite kind of book, what's your favorite era of book, and it doesn't even serve to bring the plot along. It's just the characters making noise. I think also because the writing style is trying to be very like scholarly, and because the vampire is so old, maybe even like historical, but it's just so overwritten and so bad. Like, this was a novella. and I'm having a hard time getting into it because the writing is so overly dense and they just talk a lot about nothing. I do want to say though, I have picked out my next book. I decided I'm gonna read like Kindle Unlimited shit on the weekends, and then throughout the week I can microdose a normal sized book. I read one chapter of this and I've talked heartily about this being a book I'm very interested in reading. This is Barely Even Friends by May Bennett, which is her debut book that, if you can't tell from the title and the little cover details, is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It is by far the most close adaptation of Beauty and the Beast that I've read. It's not even inspired by it. Like, every character is named after one. Chapter 1 just sets up, by the way, this main character is a contractor who specializes in restoring old buildings, and so business is slow because people in the modern days just want to tear everything out and put marble countertops in and whatever. They want to paint it gray. But her dad's business receives a contract for this upstate New York mansion, but her dad has been in the hospital, so she has to take her first solo project. So she drives 6 hours, arrives there, and the door opens mysteriously for her. There's people talking. It's like very much the beginning of Beauty and the Beast, where he storms in the room and he's like, what are you doing here? I have to not read this book because I need to finish this one, otherwise this one will never happen. But this one so far is so good. I kind of want to stop and get a copy of it so I can put tabs in it and remember my favorite parts. I have a feeling this is gonna be 4 or 5 stars for me, unless it goes to shit or it's just not as promising as the first chapter has led on. But I see myself adoring this, which should not be a surprise because I adore Beauty and the Beast. This is my tapestry in my bathroom of Beauty and the Beast. They are with me always, including when I shit. Beauty and the Beast is the trope I will never get tired of reading about. So once I finish this vampire novella, you know it's gonna be go time with this because I'm loving it. It's gonna be a long week. I'm feeling so burnt out over work and I need a mental health day badly. Hi y'all! I totally forgot to bring my camera, but I'm at the library right now. Shelby's meeting me here. We're gonna go bookshop. I have a couple to return. Oh, there's Shelby. Should I dox her? Do you want to see what car she drives? I have one hold to pick up and then we'll just browse. We'll see what happens. And then I think I'm going to her house afterwards. I read my ebook a little bit while I was at work today. I hate it. I hate it so much. I'll just give you a final review when I finish it. It's so bad. And all the top reviews on Goodreads are like, I DNF'd this. It was so bad. The way I walked up to the in-library bookstore and screamed, "You're coming home with me." Shelby pointed out they have the first 2 in the series, but I don't want mass markets. Unfortunately, I'm doing some damage. I'm looking for the Lisa Kleypas one right now that has a plus-size main character, and I don't remember what it's called. I'm vlogging instead of looking it up. The toy of choice that unites them both is cardboard on a wire string. Oh good boy today. He's got wiggle butt. There. Oh, we passed at the same time. Double homicide. Hi girls! At this point I think I film more on Shelby's couch than in my own house, but library haul as I promised. We just let the cats meet each other for the first time and they were so sweet. But overall, no hissing, just playing. If you want to keep up with all the shenanigans of Shelby getting a new kitten, she has been vlogging every day in August, so go watch literally from day 1 when she gets her kitten. He's the cutest. Anyway, library haul. So we walked in, and I think I recorded some of this, but my library has like a little bookshop in the entrance where people can donate books and they'll sell them for like 50 cents. Who did this for me? This is The Hobbit in the exact edition that I want. I don't even care that it's like used and crunkly. I don't feel like I need to even recap this, that I watched the Lord of the Rings movies this year and I'm obsessed with them. I have never seen The Hobbit. I know nothing about this other than it's about a guy named Bilbo, because when I was in high school, the non-AP class read this book and all the kids were like, his name's Bilbo. I think I read this or tried to read this in college because I had a fantasy literature course, but I, at that point, only read kissing and smooching, so I'm gonna be brave and know that this was written by a white man in the 40s and it's not gonna be sexy at all, nor have a single woman in it. And then I was technically at the library because I thought I had 1 hold, but I forgot I actually had 2. I keep adding books to my fat phobic, just kidding, plus size TBR that probably I'm not gonna read, but one of these I had on hold. I actually also had out of the library last year, so this is a repeat offender. Still haven't gotten to it. It's one to watch. I just almost flung it at my face, by Kate Stayman London. It's another one that's like Hollywood, and she's on some kind of dating or reality show. I think it's a dating show. She's a plus size fashion blogger. That's exciting. Sarcasm. And again, there's like 3 other books in my TBR that are this exact thing, but this one has a lot of reviews. Like, a lot of people have read this one, so I think it went a bit mainstream. Let's see. Is that why? Okay, that makes sense. Shelby just said it was book of the month. And then my other one, so that's the one I forgot I had to hold on, but then I was just browsing. Every now and then I go on my library website and search different keywords for like plus size, fat romance, and this actually came up under a tag that was like body acceptance, and this one is called Unshrinking by Kate Mann, which is a nonfiction book. The tagline is How to Face Fat Phobia. One thing I've been neglecting in this, and I think it's because primarily the plus size readathon is intended to be about fiction, is I have not read any nonfiction about fatness in years. I do have a couple favorites. I think at the end of this readathon, I'm gonna post what my favorites are because I've been talking a lot about what I don't like, and now I think I need to do the opposite and do some of my faves. That being said, a couple of my faves are nonfiction because instead of a storyline, sometimes I just need like the pep talk about society and how I fit in it, literally. So this is another nonfiction book about hopefully normalizing and making me feel better about fitting in the world, especially as I have some business travel coming up that I'm very nervous about. So I'm gonna read this hopefully this month. We'll see. If not, it's definitely on my radar if I don't get around to it. So those are my 2 holds. Shelby and I browsed the new books section as we always do, and for some reason I missed this on the shelf that I was on, and then we swapped, and she made a joke about this. She held this up and she was like, this is what you wish we were doing when we hang out at my house. And I laughed, but then I was like, give me that. I want to read that, because hi, fat main characters. This is a book that comes up frequently on like queer and own voices, like plus size novels. So this one is about a lesbian couple. One of them is a like music producer. Is the other one a singer? Question mark. I feel like a lot of like black owned voices I read panders a little bit to white audiences and like explains the joke and almost tells you like at an elementary level when they experience like microaggressions or something, they'll like explain to you exactly why that's bad. I hope that this is just a bit more of an authentic, not over explainy black romance, if that makes sense. Maybe I could be totally wrong, but that's the reason why I'm interested in this, and I definitely need to flex my muscle of reading more like non-cishet white. I'm gonna give this one a shot, and I have already read the one sapphic book on my TBR, so I'm happy to have another one in the assembly line. The last 2 books were adventures upstairs into the YA department. The next one is the second book in the Realm Breaker series. I've been joking that the titles are like Realm Breaker, Blade Breaker, Wind Breaker. It reminds me of that scene from Hannah Montana. Do y'all remember when they're doing the Romeo and Juliet play? Breaks wind. I knew someone would get me. I didn't know they'd be in the room with me. But this is the sequel to Realm Breaker. It's a fantasy series. Hopefully there's no spoilers on the back of this because I keep showing it to you. It's like 4 characters who have to stop the world from ending because there's an evil guy who's trying to rip open all these portals to other worlds where evil pours in. Book 1 was kind of uneventful. This book is also massive. How many pages we talking? Please say 300. Nope, that'll be 580. Obviously, this is not going to happen until September or later. I have so many books on my radar that I want to read. I hope this one will make the cut, but it took me like 3 weeks to read book 1, so we'll see when that happens. Speaking of, I just saw Holly Black's, I think this is the spin-off series to The Cruel Prince. I have not even read like the short story collection about Carden yet. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else between those that I didn't read, but this is like the series about Oak, who's Jude's brother. No one has really talked about this, or at least I'm not on the side of BookTube or TikTok where people talk about this series. I know everyone's obsessed with The Cruel Prince. I like Holly Black's world building and her plots are really addicting, so I don't think there's any way that I couldn't not enjoy this. Let me know if this series is good, because I think book 2 is out in it now, and there's also like so many side books from The Cruel Prince. I need to get caught up. That is my library haul. Shelby's cooking something, and I don't know what it is, but it smells so good. Hot dog! I'm 50% of the way through my ebook. The writing style is so unnecessarily drawn out. And the whole plot of the book is that they both love books, but not even like, ooh, that book was interesting. I like that author and that plot. It's like, the binding of this book is rare and the threads used in the 1500s are so unique. They're so obnoxious. They meet each other and then 20 minutes later, they're like at his mansion
like fondling books, and he's like, I'm gonna make her immortal. No woman has ever connected with me about books like this. It's like, girl, go on TikTok, find another girl who's read ACOTAR, and there you go. Life solved. Like, you have your community. He and her talk like absolute assholes. He kind of has an excuse because he's 1,000 years old. She talks the same way as him, and she's just some nerd. She's like never mentioned as being fat. So the whole reason I'm reading this is so it's obviously a plus size romance book, because this author, I somehow have read like half of her books now and haven't really enjoyed any of them. I feel like I'm wasting my time because none of the focus is about her size or her body or him loving her despite it. It's just they think about books and they're so condescending about they like books and no one else understands them. That tasted like Chipotle.
Good morning. As you see, I desperately need to get ready for work. I have to leave in like 20 minutes, but I literally fell asleep last night in the middle of this sex scene. That's how bad it is. Like, I could not stay awake. Didn't even take off my makeup for it. I'm 80% of the way through it, and the only reason I continued reading this is to get to the smut, to be like, maybe it'll redeem it. This book is fucking crazy. Because he's a vampire, obviously. This book, he genuinely is only interested in, like, fucking her to death. And it's a sentence that he says multiple times, because after they have sex he's planning on turning her into a vampire, but the entire time that they're fucking, all he can picture is killing her. So he'll be like draining her until she's almost dead and then feeding her some of his blood to keep her alive. At one point he imagined like he's fucking her so hard he's breaking her bones, and he also chokes her until like she can't breathe. It's so bad. I'm like, are you gonna murder her on page? I hate this book. I was like, maybe it'll get like 2 stars if the smut is redeemable. The smut made it 30 times worse because these characters already don't have chemistry, and I don't understand why she wants to be with him after meeting him for 30 minutes, but somehow she wants the rest of her life with him, and now they're having sex and he's like, I'm gonna kill her. So yeah, I have 20 minutes left of this book. I can't believe this is a real book. This is fucked. There wasn't even any aftercare. Like, she fell asleep on the floor. I see why this book has very low ratings and no one wants to finish it. I cannot wait to run to Goodreads with my 1-star review. Also, just to reiterate, the writing of this book is not good. For instance, yeah, that's how I feel about this book too. This character asks him, why were you sitting over there? She asked. She wanted to know the answer. Huh? She wanted to know the answer. This book is so stupid. My cats are begging for breakfast. I think it's time. Are you hungry? Okay. You know, I knitted this shirt for like 3 years and I never wear it, and I'm trying to decide if I even like it. Is it worth the effort? It's just this. And I know what you're thinking. God gives life's toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. This is such a first world problem. Anyway, I'm having some leftover chicken and rice. So as I said today before work, I want to get rid of my book as fast as possible. So I went out and did the thing. I finished The Vampire in the Bookstore. Solid 1 star. The most confident 1 star I've given in millennia. This book was terrible. The smut, I can confidently say, did not redeem it. It made it so much worse. I don't think really anything happened in the last 10% that would have made this any different than how I've talked about it before, but I just cannot believe this exists. I can't believe it has over a 3-star rating on Goodreads. It is so bad. There is zero plot to it. The characters are not realistic. They don't make sense. They have no chemistry. This feels like it was trying to be Twilight fanfiction. Like there were little parallels, but the gist of it was they think each other smell like books, so they like each other, and then he tries to literally kill her by fucking her, and then she like wants to be immortal for a reason that is never explained. It's so bad. Words cannot describe how bad this book is. Not the worst thing I've read, but definitely bottom 10. I just returned to my statement that bad books should never have good covers, so we need to get this taken off Kindle immediately. Because I've been reading things so quickly, I actually had space to download some more things on Kindle Unlimited, so here's what my library is looking like. We have a couple more monster romances in the queue. A lot of people recommended Camera Shy, which is like a polyamorous fat main character book. Cocktail on the Block, it's a trilogy that I want to at least start. Blindsided, I think, is a sports romance. Nero is one that I saw a lot. People commented on my TBR that I should try that one. I forget if it's like a mafia book. It's one of those like darker romances that I typically would run screaming from, but I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. And no, I have not deleted the cowboy book yet from my reading shelf because it was so good. And then a couple things I mentioned in my TBR plus icebreaker question mark. So that's the Kindle TBR. However, we're gonna put this down for a couple weeks, maybe throw that on the charger for the next time I want to harass her, because my book sleeve is back out, which I don't even know why I deployed it because it's a library book. It doesn't matter if I dent any of the edges. We are going full speed ahead, train wreck velocity with barely even friends. Like I said, I only read chapter 1, so I have a lot more to go. So far, it's not cringe, which is my only expectation I had for it. And even when I'm adding this on Goodreads, I'm trying not to see anything because I want to know nothing about this. I've never heard anyone talk about this one. I'd never heard of it before. I'm gonna go totally blind. I feel like this might be one of those books that I get a little bit into and I'm like, this is gonna be a 5-star read, but then shit drags on or something happens in the last bit where I'm like, okay, never mind, it's 4. Gordo, what's going on? Oh, I have chicken, that's why. Sorry. How do you eat rice with chopsticks? Someone let me know. First of all, say hello to the boys. Thank you. Second of all, we're gonna have to deal with some abysmal overhead lighting, but I am too lazy to find a better place to film this. This is gonna be an abrupt transition because I did not record anything from this evening, but I am now 186 pages into my book instead of on chapter 1. I think the last time I talked to you, I was like, this is about to be the best book of the year. I'm about to give this 4 or 5 stars. Unfortunately, it has cooled down a bit. I cannot stop making a bunch of notes. Like, this is my reading journal where usually 1 page will be about my thoughts on the book. I'm halfway through the book and still going. Whenever I have a lot of little comments about a book, to me it indicates that the book just needed another round of editing. And I think that's the case with this book because the #1 word I would use to describe it is just disjointed. There's a really big lack of flow to the point where there will be some chapters that start out where they're going to do something and then they don't do that, they get sidetracked and do something else, but then it never goes back and resolves what they were gonna do. So the whole book feels very meandering because the pace of it is also, they have to renovate this entire mansion in like 6 months. There's like a countdown now for getting that done, but there's almost no progression that you can see of where they're at and what they're doing and how much more time, and the urgency of that just is not working for me. So those are my main pitfalls with it right now, but also underlined by the fact that there's still a lot of things that have not been explained, like why is this whole mansion crumbling and yet there's an AI system that talks to them through the ceiling. That's never been explained, even though the main character pointed it out herself. It also felt like a lot happened in like the first 50 pages, but within the first few chapters he's like opening up and being vulnerable with her, and it just happened so fast. Like, I wanted more time of them hating each other, but also that's a double-edged sword because it was also pretty cringe when they were in that stage. Sometimes the author uses really outdated turns of phrase, like she at one point said like new phone, who this, and that whole thing from Tumblr in like 2011. She just has so many nicknames for him, like Sir Douche. I hate when they do that. And he gave her a pet name, and I don't like pet names. We have gotten to a part of the book where there is a only one bed trope. The past couple chapters I've read are actually good, I think because they are now breaking down some walls between, they've gotten over the hump of you're mean and you're annoying, so now they're able to have a conversation with each other. And these scenes are pretty good, but it took me 150 pages to get there, and the plot around it is still so confusing, and I'm not confident in the character's abilities to like solve the problem of the book, especially because I don't really understand the pressure of why this needs to be done so fast. There's this whole thing about the guy's grandfather giving him the company that he's CEO of if he gets this house done. I'm like, what the fuck is this setup? It seems so random. I know she's trying to stick to the Beauty and the Beast plot of like, there's a timing we have to have things done by with like the rose. Again, I feel like an editor needed to read this and be like, hey girl, this doesn't make sense. I don't know, this book just isn't working really for me plot wise. Romance wise, we're getting there a little bit, but I might just be saying that because he's slinging cock and I'm like, so that's how I feel. I'm halfway through the book. It's past 11 o'clock and I wanted to go to bed at 10:30, so obviously I'm having a fun time now that it's ramping up with the one bed trope. Good evening. Yes, it is only 6 o'clock and I have already eaten my leftover Chipotle and changed into my PJs, which feels very Polar Express with the hole in this pocket. Today at work, I read like a couple chapters of my book, and I think last night before bed I got further into it. I'm on page 220. I have like probably an hour left of reading to do, so I really want to finish this tonight, and I'm shocked because I didn't think I would have time for it till the weekend, but it's been a pretty chill week. I still just have a lot of thoughts on this, none of them very positive. I am so lucky I'm at the end of this book because I started reading in bed and I got to the epilogue and I almost fell asleep. The book resolves when there's still 60 pages left, and it was a lot of predictable drama, like, I was just here for the summer, he's not gonna want me once I'm not his contractor anymore, and it's all like, you fucking idiot, of course he does. And the ending drama of it was a bit dramatic. I will say this book does have a lot of smut. It comes kind of out of nowhere though. I mean, the guy is obviously described as sexy, but the character building was just not very consistent, and I kept picturing the author while I was reading it, not in like a weird creepy way, but she would insert certain lines that I know people enjoy, but it was literally a copy paste of certain lines, and so I really couldn't take it seriously. I was like, oh, she thought that would do numbers, huh? I don't think I have anything else to add because, again, this book was just fine. A lot of the scenes were so awkward. It just was so clunkily written that you can't really follow it scene to scene. That's my biggest complaint, is it just needs another pass of editing, because I was like, what the fuck is even going on? The part about the AI voice in the house really gets lost. Like, it doesn't matter in the second half of the book, and it kind of has no explanation of why it's there. The whole plot line about Oliver's job and like being the heir to this company like was so boring. It ended up not being anything, which this book says it's for fans of Beauty and the Beast and Succession, and I don't know what Succession the show is. Man, this book did not sell Succession for me because this shit was boring as hell. I mean, she finished the house and restored it, but that wasn't even like the prominent plot either, because it would skip over so much shit. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. If I was being really critical, I would put it down to 2.5, but it was fine. If this book had no smut, it would be really bad, but the fact that I was like, okay, there's some sexy scenes, it delivered. Predictable, cheesy, choppy writing, but what can I say? I love a Beauty and the Beast retelling, even if it was really only relevant in the first half. That book is done. Now I don't know what to read next is the problem. I have so many options. I want something short and easy before the weekend. Part of me is curious about Blood Moon by Gillian Graves, which is a plus-size main character and a vampire. And it's only 100 pages, and that's kind of the vibe that I want, because I'm honestly not confident that I won't fall asleep. So I just finished my book. It's the same night, it's like an hour later. Blood Moon. By the way, not a human vampire romance, a witch and vampire romance. I have only a couple things to say. The first of them is, Gillian Graves, where do you live? I'm about to move in. This book was so good. It was filthy. This book was crazy. I mean, it's a novella and there's like 3 sex scenes because it's like 100 pages, but damn. The plot of this is that these 2 characters have like opposing bars across from each other, so it's like rivals to lovers. Obviously, because it's a novella, the plot of it is very underbaked, but can you predict what I'm gonna say? Yeah, wasn't there for the plot, so didn't really care. The vampire's name is Vlad, which I feel like is not that unique. And also the witch's name is Hazel. Witch Hazel, like that also feels a little bit lazy. I really can't discount this book for being cheesy because it was surprisingly pretty good. I think I'm gonna give that one 4 stars, and she has like 2 other books. One of them I think is on my TBR. I don't think I have it downloaded. Okay, I also have The Stone and the Star, a gargoyle monster romance on my TBR because the cover, oh my god, this one is 80 pages. I was gonna end this vlog here, but should I just read this real quick? Fuck it, I'm gonna have to read this one now. So Jillian has sold me. I'm in. This is Jillian's universe and we all just live in it. Okay, whatever, shut the fuck up, I'm gonna read it. Okay, I finished that one. Now I also have a snow cone. This one, we all know it's about a gargoyle because the cover and the title. The main female character is a woman who works as a professor at a university in the art department, so she's like a potter, and she's always seen this gargoyle on the campus, and it's like, he kind of sexy. And so after a couple times of doing activities while thinking about it, he becomes aware that she's into him, so he like starts visiting her. It was okay. I get the vision, Jillian. I see where we're going with that. Because it was shorter, it just felt a little more useless. I was like, I don't think this is a book. This is just like a scene. Did I enjoy it? Sure, it took me half an hour to read, but there wasn't much substance. I mean, they shared substances all right, but not much else. Okay, it is getting ridiculous. I think I'm gonna end this vlog here because I read so many things. Half of them just being monster porn novellas. Weekend vlog upcoming. Next week I have a week in New York, so we are not going to be doing any reading, which is why I'm cramming the first half of the month. But thank you everyone so much for watching. Bye!